Hi, everyone. Hi. Okay, there we go. Let me put my first slide on. Okay, cool. I'm going to be on this slide for a couple of minutes. Okay, hi, I'm Beth. Thank you for being here. I like to describe my organization, Tech Kids Unlimited, where we teach technology to kids who learn differently, as the little engine that could. And I'm going to tell you about my organization and my personal story. But before I do, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So how many people here, raise your hand, if you know someone with autism spectrum disorder? Wow, that's a lot. Okay, how many people here know someone with learning disabilities? It might be dyslexia, it might be dysgraphia, executive functioning issues. Okay, thank you. And how many people here know someone with emotional challenges? Maybe it's anxiety. There was a huge New York Times piece in about severe anxiety that's going on, or OCD, or bipolar disorder, depression, all of that. So, thank you. We really covered every single person in this audience who knows someone, or maybe even someone with that challenge. So basically, if you have any of those challenges, you know that it's very, very hard to learn in the classroom. For example, these lights are killing me, okay? I'm having like a sensory overload experience. And I wish they could be turned down a little bit. And maybe if you're in a classroom that has a lot of fluorescent lighting, you also want that lighting to be turned down. Maybe there's too many people at this conference for you. There's like a lot of background noise. You know, is it hard to focus? And tell me if it's hard to focus, anyone. Raise your hand if it's hard to focus. There you go. Oops, sorry, meant to do that. If it's hard to focus, I'm gonna give you a little sensory ball, because I know that maybe just you're a fidgeter, and maybe you need something to hold on to a little bit to, help you breathe, and calmness, and meditation, and all that good mindfulness stuff. So basically, this is the idea behind Tech Kids Unlimited. In 2009, when I realized that my then 11-year-old son, who learns differently, wanted to learn technology, but he didn't have a place to go. There was no after-school program for me to send him to. He was already in a special needs school. He already had an IEP, an individualized education plan. He was already getting tutors and other things like that. And it was sort of like, this kid loves technology, but I can't, there's no place for me to send him, because there was no place that really understood him and his challenges. Now, he was a little boy who at 2 years old had early intervention. I had an OT, occupational therapist, physical therapist, speech therapist, applied behavioral analysis therapist, 40 hours of therapy in my house from age 2 to 6. You can imagine, very, very challenging, very devastating, turned our whole lives around. But this little boy is growing up now, and I'm worried. I'm worried that the world is not going to find a place for him. And so what I often like to tell people about Tech Kids Unlimited is that we are striving to find a place for kids with autism and other learning and emotional disabilities, to find a place in the world. We've figured out how to school these children, but we haven't figured out how to employ them. And that is what worries me and makes me fear the most. So, let me tell you a little bit about the program. And I'm happy to say that somehow we are now getting autism in the mainstream. Wow, finally. Thank you, Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, although the producers will never come out and say that he's on the spectrum. New show, The Good Doctor. Has anyone watched it? Another new show, Atypical. Apparently, it focuses on this one little boy who wants to get a date. And then the award-winning play, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night, which was on Broadway. It's also a wonderful book about a little boy's obsession with trains and all of his other things that are going on in his life. So, how do we get these different learners to succeed? Einstein, we know he had various different issues. Certainly, Andy Warhol was an outsider. Just like the film I watched last night on the plane coming over here from New York City, great little film called Maud, about the outsider artist Maud Lewis, who basically has rheumatoid arthritis, but is like the little engine that could, continues working and doing what she loves. So now we are at 1 in 68 of children on the spectrum. And what do? How do we teach them? So what we do at Tech Kids Unlimited is we use universal design for learning. And it's a differentiated curriculum, it's good teaching, it's cheat sheets, it's a small staff of 20 kids. For every 3 kids, there's a teacher, there's a social worker in the classroom, the teens have an occupational therapist in the classroom, and we're project-based learning. And we use things like videos, and we use frequent breaks and other things like that to get these children to produce things. And what they're producing is amazing. And what they're learning is amazing. And what happens when you put a bunch of kids together who love technology, their social and emotional challenges sort of lifts. So this is our mission. And we are very proud to say that we're partners with NYU Tandon School of Engineering, where we are in a lab called the Ability Lab. We're also partners with the Seidenberg School of Computer Science at Pace University, and then we go to community centers and offer our classes as well. We're trying to put some curriculum online because we get calls all over from the United States and other places saying, help me, how can my kid who has autism learn about the world of computer science principles and technology skills? So, this is all with the eye towards employment. How are we going to pack these kids' resumes so that they can get an internship and then hopefully get some kind of employment and have a meaningful and successful life, which is what everyone deserves in the world? So here's our profile of TKU students. We asked parents this summer to label their student. And parents are very apt to label their kid ADHD, but they're not so apt to label their kid ASD. And of course, we see this comorbid diagnosis of students who are both ASD and ADHD because ultimately, we don't even know what autism is, and the DSM recategorizes it every 5 years. Is it Asperger's? Is it pervasive development disorder? What is it? And so we could have a long conversation about that, but we don't have time. So what we do find is that the characteristics of students with autism definitely can become strengths for these kids. These kids are very detail-oriented. They are often rote. So if you teach them computer code and it's a language, and it is always, the bracket in your HTML code always means close or open, they understand that. They're not so good around subtlety and the gray area. So when they're given some direction and they are actually asked to create things that they want to create, they get very, very excited, very, very motivated. I often like to say that students with autism spectrum disorder, it's not that they can't focus. They can actually hyper-focus on things that they want to focus on. And so what we like to do is we like to bring their passions, which Ron Suskind, the award-winning Pulitzer Prize winner for his news stories, but also he has sort of changed the face a little bit of autism therapy with his affinity-based therapy, which is using a child's passion to get them to learn. So we used to say, oh, a restricted interest, my kid loves Thomas the Tank Engine, take away Thomas the Tank Engine. But now we say, use Thomas the Tank Engine, create a video with it, create a story with it, work it. So why all of this about autism and my passion and my interest is that, as I mentioned before, I'm afraid. I don't want my kid to sit on the couch, a very nice couch. I don't want him to sit on the couch for the rest of his life. And that is really where so many young adults, that's what they're doing. They are sitting on their parents' couch because after age 21, there is nothing for these kids. And autism costs the nation more than $35 billion per year because every single one of those kids is on Medicaid waiver and Social Security and other things like that. And there's really a lack of opportunities for these students with autism. And I want to go out there and say, I am definitely, at Tech Kids Unlimited, we are definitely interested in, yes, all of the little Sheldons, but we are really, really interested in other kids that don't fit the mold, that are not a typical Asperger, who have maybe some expressive language or some receptive language, but have tons of other issues that are going on. So we know that technology jobs are suited to these kids, but there's few training programs that are geared to this population. So, when I named the organization Tech Kids Unlimited, I did it because I just feel like with the right curriculum and with the right supports, the possibilities for these kids can be unlimited. But I'm only one small program, and I hope that, you can think about putting a person with autism spectrum disorder in your company, in your organization, as an intern, 1 day a week, something. I want to show you this video that was created by a 10-year-old. So if I just press this, hopefully it'll work. Oh, no. Can you guys play that for me in the back? It's a linked video. I'll talk about it while they play it. Oh, good, thank you. Little boy, the task is, in 4 days, create a viral video. There's sound.
We were once walking and they noticed the subway rules. The train had symbols that were equal to their animals that rode them. The B train is for birds, the C train is for cats, the D train is for dogs, the F train is for flies only. Chester the cat is angry because Daisy is going on the D train. Daisy starts walking on the D train. Chester went on the C train, crying still that his best friend Daisy went on the D train. The two trains, the D and the C train, stop in the tunnel. Chester jumps from the C train all the way to the D train to see his friend Daisy. After Chester jumps onto the D train, Chester sits next to his friend Daisy with all the other dogs around him. The end.
Okay. I love showing this video because, to create this video was like huge for this kid. So first of all, he had to think about like a story that he wanted to tell using a cat, because that was the idea behind the workshop. So he had to write out with his helper, his counselor, what would the story be? So you had to open up a Word document, a Google document. Think about what will the story be. Write all the characters, write all the narrative down. Then he had to learn Photoshop. Then he had to learn what it means to, take images off of Google Images, and, you could see the New York City transit system there. And then he had to add music, and then he had to record his voiceover. And then he had to edit it and put it all together. A lot of work for a 10-year-old on the spectrum, and when we say a 10-year-old on the spectrum, what we really mean in terms of his possible splinter skills and his developmental age is probably about 7, because all of our students on the spectrum are definitely behind in terms of their developmental age. Can I have the slide thing back again? Can I have my slides back? Okay. So basically, what we did is, as the program grew, is we decided that there were youth that were little kids and that they loved hanging out together. But one day, my son came to me and said, I don't want to hang out with the babies anymore, because he now was a teen. And I said, okay, you're right, let's create a teen program. So I thought, you know what, now we have this population of teens, and we now have to think about how are we going to engage these teens when really neurotypical teens, their peers in different high schools, already out there, are already working, already have internships, or they're babysitting, or they're, working at Target, or, bussing tables, or whatever, and our kids have no work experience. So I was sitting in the back of the room one day with one of our seed funders, the FAR Fund, which is a New York City Autism Foundation in New York, and she said to me, I have a really terrible website, right, Beth? And I said, you kind of do. And that was her website on the bottom, where it says the FAR Fund in the blue and white. And she said, what should I do? Help me. And I said, light bulb, let me get our teens to create a website for you. So, using WordPress, we taught them how to use WordPress. We divided them into different groups. Some of the kids worked on the logo. One of our kids, you could see the Far Fun logo with all those little triangles there. One of our kids, who's quite a challenged kid, he created that logo for her. And then some kids edited all the photos, and some kids did the design work, and they worked as a team in an agency. And then I thought, wait a second, maybe what we have here is a talented tech team, a teen digital agency where the teens can actually do work and get paid. So I asked my funder to pay them. She paid, and we decided $25 for the 4-day session would work. But can you imagine how excited a student is to get a $25 Amazon gift card, after doing something that they love, which is learning about computer science principles and technology is? They're very excited. So since that time, we do lots of different client projects for other non-for-profits, and because our field is really special needs, I walk around with a Tech Kids Unlimited sticker on my forehead that says, do you need work? Do you need work? Do you need work? So I'm very excited that I'll tell you about these 3 pieces. Shop the Spectrum is basically, it's an online website that you can go to right now. It was developed with the Flutie Spectrum Enterprises, which is part of the Doug Flutie Foundation for Autism. And what we did is we know that there are tons of people out there who are making products, whether it be coffee or jewelry or candles. Many mom and pop people like me are saying, you know what, there's no place for my kid to work, so I'm going to create a place for them. And we're going to make dog bones, and we're going to make, lavender sachets, or whatever it may be, and we're going to have a website, but no one knows of these little companies. So Shop the Spectrum is the place to go if you want to support autism causes. All you have to do is go to that site, click on, look at all the different organizations that are there, really from coffee to candles to granola, and then you can help purchase one of these products, which it brings you right to their, the site brings you right to the site of, for example, Love Michael, which is a fantastic granola company that is making granola, gluten-free, wheat-free granola in New York City, employing students with autism. Peast. Peast is a website that we created for JobPath, another non-for-profit in New York whose job it is to help people with disabilities find jobs. And so that's a logo that was created by one of our students after many reiterations. Telling a student to go back to the drawing board and, it's not good enough, we don't like the color or this or that, not easy. Good stuff to learn, right? Good stuff to learn in a teen agency. Care Weaver is going to be, it's almost finished now, it's going to be an app. Another agency asked us to do this for them, and all of our students created the logo and the UX design. These kids are so talented, they're so passionate, they can be involved in the world of technology. They really, really can. So this brings me to, a little bit of what parents say about our program. You can read it here. I'm not going to read it for you. And also what a student said, about our program too. And really back to my own story about my own son, Jack. We recently did last summer, we did a little promo piece. We had a news person come in and interviewed him. And usually he doesn't like to talk on camera. He's very, very shy and introverted. Very handsome, I may add. And the interviewer spent a little bit of time with him and sort of helped to open him up. And at the end of the interviewer said to him, well, what do you want to tell people about this program and about you? And he looked at them and looked at the camera right in the eye and he said, look at me now. And so what I want to leave you here with is that these students with autism spectrum disorder and other disabilities, they need a lot. They need a lot. And if we don't continue to give them education that is for them, individualized education, and that is and give them opportunities around building their resume, et cetera, then we're going to be in a deep, deep hole. And for me, as a mom, as an autism mom, I refuse to have my son on the couch. So I hope that you will join me in thinking about the fact that diversity is also disability. It's not just gender and race. It's really so much bigger. It's so much more. And my wish for the world is that we can walk into every place, in every part of your everyday life, and there can be individuals who are different, and that they can be accepted and they can be lauded for their incredible talent. And so if you see something that is not there in this world, I never meant to start a non-for-profit. It's the last thing I wanted to do. But I had to do it. I had to do it for my son. And I'm happy, and it gives me great pleasure to know that hopefully I'm helping my son. Sometimes he does still sit on the couch. But that we're helping other students and families as well. So thank you. Go to techkidsunlimited.org.